In this video, we're going to learn how to graph a line from its equation. So by now, let's recall that a line usually looks like this, something like this, where we have y equals something x plus something or minus something. And if you remember, there are two parts to this equation. We like to say y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope, or sometimes we call it the rate of change. And b, which is what we sometimes call the initial value, or in this case, the y-intercept. So, and actually I'm going to put this one in brackets because initial value is what we called it in grade 9, but in grade 10 we're going to start calling it the y-intercept, right? And we're going to start calling the m the slope. So the slope and the y-intercept are in every equation of a line. In this equation, what's the slope and what's the y-intercept? Well, here, the thing attached to the x is always the slope or the rate of change because that tells x how to change, how fast to change. So in this case, m is 2/3. And our b value, or our initial value, is 1. Right? Our y-intercept is 1. So how do we graph this line now, just from those two pieces of information, our slope and our y-intercept? Well, the first thing we know is that our y-intercept is a point. And what y-intercept means, it means point on the y-axis. Remember, the y-axis is this axis right here. It's labeled on your graph with a little y right there, right? But it's basically what y-intercept means. It means point on that axis. So in this case, b is 1. So on that axis, all we do is we find 1. There we go. So that is a point that is on that line. Next, we have the slope is 2/3. Now, the way we can do this is if we remember that slope, really what it is, it refers to how the graph changes from that starting point, right? So what this means, what 2/3 actually means is the 2 refers to the rise. Let me just label this here. The 2 refers to the rise, and the 3 refers to the run, what we call the rise and the run. So what that means, the rise means goes up or down, and the run means goes left or right. So in this case, what it means is that rise of 2 means it goes up 2, and a run of 3 means it goes right 3. Up and right are always our positive directions. So basically what this means is that we start at this point here, our y-intercept of 1, and we go from that point, we go up 2, and we go right 3. So see there how we went up 2 and right 3? That takes us to this point right here. That is another point on the line. We can actually do it again. We can go up 2 from that point and over 3 to get to this point here. And that is another point on the line as well. Once we have a few points on the line, we can sketch it. All right? If you take a ruler, I didn't take a ruler there, but if you take a ruler and draw a line through those points, you should have your line. So that's it. That's how you sketch a graph from an equation. Find the slope, find the y-intercept, plot the y-intercept, and then use the slope to figure out how much it goes up and over. Okay? So what I want you to do now is I want you to pause the video in a second, try this question yourself, unpause it when you're done, and I'll reveal the solution, okay? Pause it now. So there's the solution to 2, okay? Or the your turn question, I should say. We started at 2, a y-intercept of 2, and the slope told us to go up 3, right 4. So from here I went up 3, right 4 to get another point, and then I drew a line. Now, you'll notice on this one we were only able to create one other point, because if we kept on doing that, we would have gone off the page. There is a little trick where if you flip it around, if you flip around both of them, you can actually go in the opposite direction. What I mean by that is if you take up and you right, and you switch it to down and left, we're allowed to do this. So just change the directions from from up and right to down and left. And if you do that, starting at this point, you should get another point in the opposite direction. So if I go down 3 and left 4, I should have a point right there. See, I missed it by a little bit because I wasn't that accurate. I didn't use a ruler. But there you go. So we can actually create a point going the opposite direction just by switching both directions around. Okay? And we should end up with a line. So what I want you to do now, the next 6 questions, I should say, I want you to try them. Okay? I want you to pause the video here. I want you to try them. So when you're super stuck, I'm actually going to go through sort of one at a time very quickly. But I want you to try them first. So make sure you pause the video, try them, and then when you get super stuck, you can unpause and I'll reveal one solution at a time. Okay, so for the first one I should say, for A, 2x plus 1. Well, we know that our y-intercept, our b, is equal to 1, so we know the graph is going to start at 1. That part's easy. In this case, our slope, the thing with the x, it's telling us it's 2. What does that mean? Usually we have a rise and a run, right? 2 parts to the slope. In this case, there's only a 2. So what can we do? What does that mean? Well, any number you can always turn into a fraction by just putting it over 1. Because 2 over 1 is the same thing, it's just 2, right? So 2 over 1 is just a more complicated way of saying 2. So if that's the case, what does that tell you about the slope? It means we go up 2 and then right 1. So from this point, I'm going to go up 2 and then right 1. Up 2, right 1. Up 2, right 1. So I got lots of points there. And if I flip it around, I can go down 2, left 1. Down 2, left 1. Down 2, left 1, and so on. And I get my line basically from doing that. There we go. The next one is very similar, so try it yourself again before going on to the solution. So this one is a little bit different because the b, the y-intercept, is actually negative 4. See how there's a minus there? That tells us that b is negative 4. And what does that mean? Well, all it means is that our y-intercept is at negative 4 instead of positive 4. It's a negative value. It's allowed to be a negative value. There's nothing wrong with that. And our slope, remember, our slope of 3, we can write as 3 over 1. So that means we go up 3, right 1. Up 3, right 1. I like putting these little instructions for me for every question just to make sure I don't make a mistake. It's easy just to write that out. It takes 1 second, and it's going to make sure you don't make a mistake. So I'm going to go up 3, right 1. Up 3, right 1. Up 3, right 1. There we go. And I can actually go the other way, down 3, left 1. And I end up there. And you see that forms a nice straight line. If you're doing this and it's not creating a straight line, make sure you double check your work, because all of these are equations of lines, so it should work properly. Okay, continuing on. Again, I want you to try these questions yourself first, so make sure you do that before you just follow along with the solutions. Okay, the next one. We have a y-intercept of 2, right? So we're going to start at 2, because that's what our b value is, right? This value right here. And we have a slope of negative 3 over 4. Now, this is the first one that has had a negative in the slope. What do you think it means? Well, instead of up 3, right 4, it's going to be down 3, right 4. So all we do is we change the direction of the one with the negative. So since 3 is the one with the negative, we're going to, instead of that being up, we're going to change it to down. So from here, we're going to go down 3, right 4. Down 3, right 4. Oh, I'm going to run out of space. Oh, the point's going to be something like that, right? Somewhere over there. And if I switch the directions to make it go the other way, I can go up 3, left 4. And I end up there. So if I connect these lines, these points up with a ruler, I'm going to get a line that looks something like that. Okay? All right, next question. B is negative 1, so we know that that starts here. And the slope is telling us it's negative 3. And of course, same as the other questions that were like this, to turn that into a fraction, we can just put it over 1. Always put it over 1. So this is telling us down 3 and right 1. So from this point, I'm going to go down 3. Oops, let me zoom in there. Down 3, right 1. Down 3, right 1. There we go. To go the opposite way, I go up 3, right? Up 3, left 1. Up 3, left 1. And I should get points that look something like that. There we go. All right. Last 2 problems. Again, try them yourself before you watch the solution. So this one, it doesn't look like it has a b value, right? There's nothing there. So what do you think, what's another way to say nothing in math? 0, right? So it's basically like the y-intercept, or the b value is 0. That tells us the y-intercept is 0. So that means on the y-axis, 0 is a point. So right there, right in the middle, is 1 point on our line. And then the slope of 1/2 tells us to go up 1, right 2. So from that point, we're going to go up 1, right 2. Up 1, right 2. Up 1, right 2. Or down 1, left 2. Down 1, left 2. You get the idea. And then we can join it with a nice straight line like that. Okay? All right. Last problem. Now this one says 0x plus 3. So right away we know our b again is 3, right? Our y-intercept is 3. So that's not a problem. But it's saying our slope is 0, right? Our m is 0. What do we do about that? What does a 0 slope mean? Well, think about it. If a slope is 0, that means there is no slope, right? When something doesn't have a slope, you can think of it as being flat or horizontal, right? So really, that's the answer here. This is a horizontal line that goes through a y-intercept of 3. But if that confuses you, another way to think about it is we can just do the same thing as the other problem. We can put it over 1. 0 over 1. So what this means is we go up 0, so we don't go up, and we go right 1. So from this point, we can go up 0, so we're not going up at all, but we go right 1. Up 0, right 1. Right 1, right 1. We're essentially just going right 1. And the same thing if we go the other way. Up or down 0, left 1. Down 0, left 1. You can see it just makes a horizontal line. So that's what a horizontal line looks like, right? Now, we wrote this equation as y equals 0x plus 3. I just wanted to show you that because that basically shows you that the slope is 0. But an easier way to write this equation is just y equals 3, right? Because the 0 part here, we don't really need to show that, right? So you might see an equation that looks like this in your practice, where it's just y equals 3, or y equals -2, or y equals 5. Remember what that means is that the slope is 0. So you're going to end up with a horizontal line. Okay? There we go.